Hey, what's going on, everybody? I got my usual crew with me today, Darnell and Tyler. I'm Trey, and we are coming your way with the 27th edition of the Don't Kill the Messengers podcast. First thing first, we lost a legendary coach today with Pat Summitt. What were you guys' thoughts on her?
I mean, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you're good. Go for it.
Okay. I mean, it was something that, that was coming. She had to retire because of illness, and word came out basically a day or two ago that the family was starting to make arrangements for the worst. But it's sad to see her go. I mean, a pioneer on the women's side of sports, and sports overall. She is the all-time winningest college basketball coach of either side. So that's another legend that we lose in a short period of time in the sports realm. And I feel bad for the family and thoughts and prayers with them.
Yeah, definitely. I was telling Trey before we got on that, I feel like what UConn is doing today in women's college basketball, Pat Summitt was doing 10 years ago. Maybe not to the same level of, 100 straight wins or whatever. But, she was winning championships left and right and just dominating the women's game. And if she didn't do it, who knows if UConn would be doing it right now. So she definitely paved the way for what women's college basketball is today. And, like Darnell said, it's unfortunate to see another great one go. But we all have our time, and was, in my opinion, a little too early, but, just very unfortunate. So, definitely thinking about their family and the college basketball world as a whole.
Yeah, definitely. You guys saw a lot of NCAA basketball stuff. I'm still, trying to get used to it. Is there really like any coach, on both sides, men's or women's, that can close to the success that she's had?
Yeah. I mean, some coaches have come, parallel to the success she's had. Gino Auriemma, UConn women, Krzyzewski at Duke with the all-time wins in the men's game.
Yeah.
The success is defined in so many different ways, but she definitely found, a pinnacle in the game that nobody else had reached during, her time coaching, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, like Tyler laid the names there. There's coaches that can compare to the legacy she leaves, but I mean, she was that trailblazer, especially for women's basketball. I mean, now we do recognize a couple other teams that have gotten better over the years. I mean, UConn, of course, is top dog right now, but your Notre Dames and stuff like that. But back when I was a teenager, so basically all it was Tennessee basketball. It's just like, they were going to be in the Final Four every year outside year where some other team steps up and knocks them off. But, Pat Summitt laid that groundwork for that sport to grow bigger. I mean, I think she's part of the reason we have a WNBA right now. Because she laid those building blocks so people would watch the girls' game and be interested.
Yeah, for sure. And also, she really developed the talent as well. When I think they saw a lot of these women really excelling in the game and not having a next step for them, almost seemed like Pat Summitt was almost wasting her coaching ability by not allowing these women to move on to something next. So I definitely think she played a bigger role than just women's college basketball. And, as seeing on Twitter and SportsCenter, all the former athletes talking about her, just talking about the legacy that she's leaving behind and the impact that she had on all their lives is just beyond basketball and beyond sports. You can't replace great life advice. And I feel like she was one to give a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Said I'm not really still need to get into the groove of just college basketball in general. So I definitely have to, just check out just some of the accomplishments and stuff that she's had for sure. Because I definitely knew that she was a legendary coach. I just don't know, all the groundwork and everything that she has contributed to the game. So that's something I'll definitely have to look up. Just heart goes out to her family and everything for sure. So. Up next, we're going to talk about this USA basketball roster. Can you guys read out the roster real quick and then give your thoughts?
Sure, you want to take it, Ty?
Oh, I closed that.
Okay, I got it. I got it. So, yeah. Okay. The Olympic roster this year, we have veteran Carmelo Anthony back in there. We got Harrison Barnes, Jimmy Butler, DeMarcus Cousins, DeMar DeRozan, Kevin Durant, Paul George, Draymond Green, Kyrie Irving, DeAndre Jordan, Kyle Lowry, and Klay Thompson.
All right. Anybody that you guys wish would have, because, there's also, with fear of that virus and everything, some people opted out. Is there some other players you guys wish would have decided to step it up and play for the country, or are you satisfied with this roster, or what?
Well, I mean, I think everybody would have loved to have probably seen the two headliners in Steph Curry and LeBron James, even though they're, claiming rest is the reason that, rest and injuries are the reason that they're not playing, which, I totally believe. And maybe the virus is a little bit of a scare for both of them, but, they had long seasons. Now, granted, three members of the Warriors are playing, so it's kind of like, hey, what's your excuse? But
yeah,
hey, I get it, I do. But in terms of who do I wish was playing on this team, I would have to go with LeBron and Curry, just because they're the two biggest names in the NBA, which then means they're the two biggest names that our country has to offer. But with the roster we have, I do believe it's good enough to bring home a gold medal. Very talented players, even though a lot of them don't necessarily have the same pedigree that Curry and LeBron have. They're very qualified basketball players to be on this team. They're all very good at what they do, very good at their positions. And, I don't think I'll see anybody complaining about the people they picked.
Trey, I'm going to surprise you here. I actually kind of wish they would have had Kobe Bryant come in.
That is interesting.
He had kind of his swan song this year. I kind of wish they would have gave him the last nod to come play for one more Olympic team. Like, of course, you don't have to play crazy minutes, but,
This is veteran leadership of him, playing and getting a medal and stuff before. That's a young team, so
and I would
veteran experience,
and I would even say on top of that, there will be multiple games where he can literally go out and shoot it 35 times and we'd still win by 60 points.
Yeah.
So I don't disagree with that, Darnell. I actually think that's interesting. I never thought about him being on the team.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. You caught me off guard with that one, man. But that's a good point. Now, will you have anybody else too you would like to see, or?
I mean, outside of the obvious ones like Ty referred to, LeBron and Curry, but I mean, I understand Curry is trying to. I don't know if it's just to keep up with the bad showing. I need to rest my knee and ankle, but he did say it earlier in the playoffs that he probably wouldn't play. But I mean, it would be nice to see them along with Durant all on the court, and I would have liked to see Russell Westbrook.
Oh yeah, Russell, yeah, for sure. That guy's
definitely. If I had to throw a name in there, just because us three get to see Andre Drummond a lot, and I think Andre Drummond's really rising to the top as one of the better centers in the NBA, and being a young, good post talent. I think this would have been a really good opportunity for him to be on the team, and they're kind of going with the young mantra this year. So I think he could have been a pretty decent fit.
I think he also would have been good just because this is a very swing player guard heavy team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you only got Cousins and DeAndre Jordan, and only one of those two centers is actually an offensive threat.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Drummond would have actually been a good fit to give two players that if one gets in foul trouble and you need points on the inside, you can depend on them.
Yeah, and I think one step above that, when you look at this roster, they just look like they want to run people out of the gym. They want to be a transition team. Now, granted, Drummond doesn't run the floor super well. He runs it fairly well for a big guy. But, he's not going to be running up and down the floor with the Lowrys and the Draymond Greens. But, I do think if they were to somehow get into, a physical type game with one of the European squads that usually fields a 7-footer or a couple 7-footers, they may be fighting for some rebounds and losing that battle, actually. So I would have liked to have seen one more big guy on the roster, and that's why I say Andre Drummond. But I don't necessarily see this team having a huge issue with being in a game where they need a lot of rebounds.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Now, who would you guys say should be the leader of this team for Team USA? I personally think Melo, just with his experience, his years of playing in there. But what do you guys think?
I would lean more towards a Durant or Paul George.
Okay.
Yeah, the only reason I wouldn't necessarily say Melo is I've never really been able to pin him as a leader his entire career. So for me to be like, okay, well, Carmelo has to lead them, all those guys know Carmelo. Like, they know who he is, and I don't think anybody really views him as the leading type. Yeah. Not saying that he doesn't have the ability to lead a team, but and he may be able to lead them with their play, and somebody else leads them through voice. Like that's more than possible. But I don't think Carmelo's the one to kind of step up and take leadership. So I would fall in line with Darnell here and probably go Durant.
Okay, that's cool. Now, any other thoughts on this roster?
Why is Harrison Barnes on the team?
How long ago were the tryouts?
Yeah.
I mean, the finals performance speaks a different story, but
pulled out just basically off of that.
Yeah. Oh, man. But granted, I do think he will turn it around in this Olympics, kind of settle down. He's not going to start on the team, so he'll come off the bench. He'll be in some situations where we're up 40 and he'll knock a few in and gain some confidence back. And I'm not worried about him as a player. I'm not necessarily even saying he doesn't belong on this team, because I do think if he played the way he's capable, he belongs on an Olympic team, considering the players that I've already said that they're not going to play. But, I do think that he'll be fine, but he is kind of, if we were playing one of these things is not like the other, it's Harrison Barnes.
Yeah. One thing, just for, it'd be a good opportunity for him. He's playing with some of the greatest athletes in the world for a little bit. So this could be an opportunity for him to, learn from some of the greatest and help improve on his game. So if they make it to the finals next year, he can do a better job of kind of stepping up, because Game 7, you missed some crucial shots. So this could be good for him.
In Game 5, 6, and 7.
Well, yeah, but this could be a learning experience for him. So hopefully,
definitely.
Well, this is big for him. He's a free agent this year.
Yeah.
So and he was apparently looking for a max contract, which I don't.
Yes. That's another discussion.
The only, and yes, that isn't a different discussion, but with the cap going up, that favors him big time. So I'll just throw that in there.
Yeah. All right, guys. What were your thoughts on last week's draft?
It was a lot of fun. Draft time's a great time.
Didn't really have like any Tunzel situations for the NBA, though. But
no Larry
cool,
Tunzel.
Yeah. And I think the NBA is happy about that.
I agree. It was very drama free.
Yeah.
Which was good. But I think overall, I feel like the draft went really well. There were some surprises, which we'll get into. I know you have that as a follow-up question here.
Yeah.
But, I think there were some surprises. There was some things that were expected to happen that did, and I think overall it was a good draft. Good talent was taken. Teams addressed some needs. There were some trades that were nice. So I think it was a very eventful night while cutting out the drama, and it just made it very enjoyable to watch.
Yeah. What about you, Darno?
Yeah, I thought it was a good draft. I had fun watching it. There was enough inside sports drama, not stupid drama like what you mentioned with Laramie Tunsil, to keep you interested. Some big trades happened. A lot of the picks got moved around, and there was a drama of one team trying like crazy to trade but unable to pull it off. So, there was a lot of storylines that went, and some surprise picks and people dropping further than you thought. It was a good night.
Yeah. Now, what surprised you guys the most about the draft?
Yeah, I'll let you start this one, Darnell.
I'll keep it in the state. There's two surprises for me. One with Deontay Davis dropping out of the first round. That was kind of shocking to me. I figured he would. I didn't think he was an automatic lottery pick, but him dropping that surprised me out of the first. And Karis LeVert coming into the first round.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a surprise because everybody was terrified of the injuries, and Brooklyn swoops in and takes him. I thought that might have been the bigger surprise to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I definitely agree with both of those. And talking about how Davis fell for you, I was also a little surprised that Valentine was taken at 14. Now, granted, I do think his talent is there to be picked there a little bit before as well, but he wasn't really talked about being picked there. So when the Bulls took him at 14, I was like, hey, great for him, but I never kind of heard that talk coming from his coverage. So that was a little surprising to me as well as Davis falling, because Davis was talked about being in that 13-14 range. So to kind of see those two flip-flop was pretty interesting. But I think one big surprise for me was the international presence that took place at this draft.
Yeah.
Good point.
I was going to mention that. But
I don't think we heard about all of those names that were taken in the first round. The Dragon Bender was, I believe, he was picked at number 4 by Phoenix, and a lot of people saw him as a top 5. So that wasn't the surprise. But everybody else that was taken after him, I can't even pronounce half the names. Mm-hmm. But, it's one of those things where Porzingis effect took over. For so many years, people were scared of the international pick because you had, Darko and Andrea Bargnani and those guys that just didn't work out. And a lot of people for years were scared to take the international player. And then Porzingis worked out last year. And you have, some other players that are starting to work out. You have Adante Exum and Ricky Rubio starting to pan out and get over some injury troubles. And, I think people are becoming less afraid, especially because of Porzingis, to take the international player. And they benefited big time from Porzingis working out last year.
Totally agree there.
Yeah. Just real quick before I get to the next one, just huge shout out to Kate Felder.
Yes.
Went to never met the guy, but went to the same college and everything. So he's going to be a player I'm going to be checking out next year to see what he can bring to the court. I don't know. I think it's going to be tough for him because he's going to battle with Kyrie Irving for some time and stuff like that. But dude was an impressive college athlete. I'm just very entertaining to watch. So I'm just going to be checking him out next year, man. I think he can deliver to the NBA.
Yeah, if nobody's watched him, the biggest downfall for him is his size at 5'9". Yeah. Small but explosive. He's got, the Spud Webb ups, if not, better than Spud Webb ups for a small guy. Nate Robinson type stuff. We talked about him last week. But he solid player, can really score the ball, finds different ways to score the ball. some sick dunks if you look him up. Just this past year, he was a highlight reel all himself. You had people like Dick Vitale absolutely loving him last year. So, he definitely played his way into this draft. And like I said, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. He's probably going to end up in the D League for the first little bit, just kind of see how he pans out. At least that's what I think. Only because I don't know if his size is NBA ready and if he'll be able to adjust quick enough to the NBA game at 5'9". So I won't be surprised if he has a D League stint for the first little bit if he can adjust. But, all the best to him, coming out of a smaller school. It's always exciting to see that stuff. It's always exciting to see those guys do really well, too. It's a great story.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think some of it, where he starts, I think a lot will hang on his summer league performance too.
Mm-hmm.
If he can come in and kind of string together a full summer league of good games where he's not turning the ball over or getting destroyed by taller guards, I think he might have a shot of making the day one squad.
Yeah, especially with everybody seeming to be getting bigger. You got point guards in the league that are 6'7", 6'6". 5'9". That'll be tough to play. That'll be tough to play against.
Yeah. Just hopefully, just focus, work hard, man. He could do it. So yeah, like I said, I'm gonna be checking him out, rooting for him for sure. So it'll be interesting to see. Definitely. But what surprise? Oh, well, yeah, that's all. What were any other snubs for the draft that you guys think people missed out on, or
that's so hard to tell, in my opinion. I mean, I think all the names that we assumed were going to be taken got taken, especially early on, except for Deontay Davis, who fell to the first pick in the second round. But I think everybody that were like they're going to get picked, they got picked. So I don't necessarily know that anybody got snubbed. I think we just had some people fall or fluctuate in the draft based on where we thought they were going to get taken.
Okay, that's reasonable.
Yeah, I can agree with that. I mean, there's one that dropped a little bit further than I thought he would, besides the obvious with Davis. But that would have been Murray out of Kentucky. I thought he probably would have been one of the top 4 picks off the board at worst, but he dropped down to 7, wasn't it?
I believe so.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of that had to do with the Celtics taking what's his name, Jaylen Brown?
Yeah.
Out of Cal.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think many people saw that pick coming. A lot of people thought they were going to take Chris Dunn at 3, and a lot of Twitter reports actually had that happening, and then they took the kid from Cal, and that kind of caught the analysts off guard. So that's one reason Murray fell. I thought Murray would be a fit there at 3 on a team that kind of needs a shooter, a good shooter. I thought him or Buddy Hield would be a fit there, but I knew Buddy Hield wasn't going to go 3. Yeah. So it was just one of those situations where I think, like you mentioned earlier, Darnell, and I think you alluded to it being the Boston Celtics wanting to be the team to trade that couldn't pull one off. And I think they wanted to try and deal that Jaylen Brown pick. I just don't know that they were able to, because a pick that catches everybody off guard like that almost seems like it's for another purpose.
Yeah.
And I was almost wondering if they were going to try and trade that and a later pick to the rights to somebody else, because, a team at 6 or 8 wanted him. So they went ahead and took him and were trying to deal him to the later pick, and just never worked out. I mean, it seemed like Boston was kind of making those iffy picks all night. A lot of people would tell you that they were the biggest loser in the draft.
Yeah, I would probably agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think they took a few foreign players that nobody really had on their radar for the first round, and they took them. And it's kind of like Boston wanted to do something with those picks, and everybody else is like, "Hey, we're gonna keep you stuck with them because you just have so many draft picks that we're not gonna let you get out of a bad pick." And I wonder if that was other teams playing against Boston there, or if they truly just couldn't work a deal out.
I think they had their hopes too high, and we're giving this draft class too much credit, thinking they'd be able to move that number 3 pick for an elite player. Because from what I read, they were trying like crazy to see if they could get Jimmy Butler, but
yeah, I've heard that.
It just wasn't gonna fly this year.
Yeah.
Now, any other thoughts on that, guys?
No.
All right. Now, who do you think drafted the worst out of them all?
I'm gonna go with Boston. Personally. I think they could have done better with that 3rd pick.
I agree. It feels like, kind of like Ty said, they either picked him thinking they would be able to move him to somebody that had their eye on him, or it was just a panic because they knew they weren't going to be able to do anything with the pick, and it feels like they threw their draft board out the window or didn't have one set up, and they just said, which one of these guys should we grab? But other than them, I would also go with Charlotte. Just seem as they traded themselves out of the draft, and it wasn't for that good of a player, for Marco Bellinelli. It's why do you give up your only pick for a 30-year-old player that's not very good?
That's going to get you 12 minutes a game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and one thing I've noticed coming back to the Boston conversation is that it seems like athleticism is being drafted more than skill in the NBA right now. And granted, the kid from Cal, super athletic, can really jump out of the gym, pretty good offensively and defensively. He just needs to really tap into his basketball skills. And I feel like there were better basketball players. Just about everybody was still available at that point. And they just took an athletic kid. They didn't take a basketball player. They took someone that's athletic and they'll really need to shape and groom. And I feel like they could have got somebody that was way closer to NBA ready than him. And I remember just thinking at number 3, they either panicked or they think they can move it. And they didn't move it and they got stuck with him. And I'm just thinking they passed on 3 or 4 guys that I would take in a heartbeat over him. And I don't know what they were thinking.
All right. Now, out of all the players that got drafted, you guys know which team they're with and everything now. Who you think can potentially be the Rookie of the Year?
That's hard. I think an obvious pick is Simmons or Ingram. Just because 1, 2, they were kind of head and shoulders above everybody else going into the draft. I think a lot of people will say Simmons. A lot of people will say Ingram. But I'm going to kind of push those 2 aside and go with somebody else just because it's fun conversation. I'll go Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield went to the Pelicans, and if I'm correct, Eric Gordon, who's their shooting guard, is a free agent and will most likely not re-sign with the Pelicans, which could put Buddy Hield in that starting role. And being a good 3-point shooter, I've said multiple times, the NBA is going to the 3-point shot. As long as his 3-point shot can translate, he'll fare very well. He'll score a lot of points, especially with the level of defense being played right now.
Yeah. Going out of the obvious too, I'm going to go back to what I mentioned earlier in Jamal Murray. I just feel like he's a pure scorer, and he's an NBA ready scorer. He averaged 20 points a game for Kentucky. That's not, as a freshman, I don't think that's anything to sniff at there. So I think, especially and being on Denver, where they're just kind of stocking up younger players. I think he's somebody that could come in and play a lot of minutes as a freshman and just, off of the scoring can pull off Rookie of the Year.
All right. Nothing wrong with those 2 at all. Just for you, Darnell, just real quick, how do you feel about Valentine going to Chicago now?
I think it's a good fit for him. Gets to play with arguably the best 2 guard in the league in Jimmy Butler. learn under him, and kind of get a feel for the game. He's going into a situation where he's with a decent team. I think they gave up the player that he's the most different from, which is Derrick Rose, who's more of, a scoring point guard, not a distributor like Valentine, who I think could project out to be a 3-position player in this league. Like play anywhere from 1 to 3 based on the situation. So I think it could be a good fit for him. And with that, taking away or trading away those minutes in Derrick Rose, I think that can help out at giving him some more playing time.
Yeah, I would definitely agree there. The NBA will never fall short of teams wanting facilitators. If you can get a bigger guy that's not a point guard, so basically anyone from the 3 to the 5 that can really pass the ball, you'll be wanted by a lot of teams, and you'll do well. I mean, you see, I guess someone you can compare him to from his latest college season is Draymond Green. He scores, rebounds, and passes the ball, and he does it very well. And I don't care what team you play for, as long as you have other guys around you that you can get the ball to. Those 3 things are what it takes to be in the NBA, and Denzel Valentine has it.
I can agree there. And he's got some pressure on him now, since apparently he's wearing 45 this year.
Is he really?
Oh, he's wearing 45. Okay. Let's see, man. He might be the new man up in Chicago, man, to take over and put the city on the map. So we'll just have to see. Now, also on draft day, had a trade with involving Serge Ibaka. What did you guys think of that trade? I know, Todd, I think you said that you believe this helps OKC a lot. So
I do. One reason I really like this trade is they got. I'll go ahead and get the drafted player that they received. They got Domantas Sabonis out of Gonzaga. Played 4 or 5 in college. Could probably do the same in the NBA, but I think he falls a little more toward the 3 or the 4 with his shooting ability. He'll need to grow into the 5 position, but solid player all around. Has a nose for the ball, finds it. Has a pretty decent 3-point shot. So right there, he fits in the NBA just fine. But the player they got in the trade specifically was Victor Oladipo, and the weakest position on the floor all season was the 2 guard for Oklahoma City, and they upgraded basically to the moon and back with Victor Oladipo on both sides of the floor. He can score, he can play defense. Who were they starting the postseason? Robertson?
Yeah.
He was a defensive presence, but it was 5-on-4 on offense. Now, Victor Oladipo will give him the ability to run a few more sets on the offensive end of the floor. You're not going to be nervous giving him the ball and he puts up a shot. Victor Oladipo has proven he can play in the NBA, and I think this makes Oklahoma City just a ton better, just based off of Victor Oladipo alone. Especially if they can keep Kevin Durant. That's the key. Yeah. And I think this is why the trade was made, was to get to really try and persuade Kevin Durant to stay. And if I were Kevin Durant, I would want to stay from this deal alone. This makes them, still contenders in the West, if not the second or this clearly makes them the 3rd team in the West, arguably the 2nd with San Antonio, but it'll be interesting to see what happens with San Antonio this coming year with their age. But I mean, I think this could move them into that 2 position in the West and very, very close to Golden State.
Well, wouldn't you already have to call them the number 2 team in the West?
They already,
yeah, true. Them, so, yeah. You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
I think they made this trade to try to get them back to. We got to be honest about it. They gave up a 3-1 lead, but they did have Golden State down 3-1.
Mm-hmm.
So I think this is just them trying to make that move to be able to put the foot on the throat next time and end the series. It gives them another scoring threat at the 2 guard spot with Oladipo, and he can shift over and play some point guard if Westbrook is out. And I think moving Serge Ibaka, it gives Enes Kanter some more room to thrive and start at that 5 spot. Yeah. So I think it was a good move on OKC's part and tempting to get Kevin Durant to stay. He's going to field offers, but he knows what he has there. He's played with majority of those players, and now he gets Victor Oladipo, who's turned out to be a nice young player, and Sabonis, if he can pan out to be like 2/3 as good as his dad was, you got a real nice player there. I mean, even his dad on 2 bad knees by the time he made it to the NBA was still a very good player. If he would have came when he was healthy, he would have been like a multiple-time All-Star. So, kid comes from good stock. He played well at Gonzaga. It's definitely something for Durant to think about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll even say if you just want to talk about the 2 guys in the NBA, and Ibaka and Oladipo, they traded a declining player for an emerging player. I mean, Ibaka was way more of a defensive presence 2-3 years ago, and I think he was a better player 2 or 3 years ago. Granted, he kind of elevated his offensive game a little bit, but I think his defensive game took a hit for it. And then with the real, surgence of Russell Westbrook becoming a real threat in the last 2 years, Ibaka hasn't been a ton. So I think moving him, they're not really losing much.
I can agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't hear his name too many times in the series against Golden State.
Yeah, it kind of seemed like his minutes shrunk.
Yeah, so I mean, well, and I feel like his role shrunk when Steven Adams' role grew.
Mm-hmm.
So when, you had not Oladipo, but you had Ibaka being their biggest defensive threat, and that shifting over to Steven Adams, I don't really know that Ibaka really has done a ton since that.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Any other thoughts on the trade?
I
Good
think
for
it should.
OKC, bad for Orlando.
Yeah, if Durant stays, I want another Golden State, Oklahoma City Western Conference Finals, and every regular season matchup on TNT or ESPN, and I want that to be as good as it can get.
Yeah. Now, just real quick, do you think this trade alone is enough to make Durant want to stay, or you think they need to do a little bit more?
I think it should be enough, personally.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think they need to try to go do anything crazy. I mean, they were a game away from going to the finals. So,
true. Yep.
I mean, it's just kind of, we upgraded. I'm pretty sure their mindset is we upgraded. All we need for you to do now is re-sign, and I think we can beat these guys. And I mean, honestly, just how the teams match up. If it was the OKC as they were this past season, I think if they would have matched up with Cleveland, I think they would have had an easy time with.
Yeah, I do believe so too. So yeah, just have to see. We're going to talk about Durant in a little bit, but yeah, see if he'll resign with him. So be a chance to get that ring. Mm-hmm. Just what are you guys' thoughts on this overall, just free agency for this year?
It's a big class.
Be a crazy year, yeah.
It's a big free agency class.
Just about to go. Well, first we'll start with LeBron. He's a free agent. Finally got the championship for Cleveland. You think he's just going to re-sign with him again, or you think maybe he'll get back with Wade and the boys, or what? Like, what do you think his thinking is right now?
I think he comes back.
Back.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see, finally brought the ring there. It's his home. I don't really see a reason for him to leave. Unless again to play for because he had to talk about possibly wanting to get back together with Wade and the guys, but won a championship. I think he's pretty satisfied. Just hopefully If anything, they'll make some moves to have the other players around him want to step up a little bit more, because him and Kyrie did have to carry a lot for them to win that championship. So that's just it. But, I do think he will stay for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think we can finally call him the king of Cleveland for sure. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt there. And I don't really see him having a reason to leave. I mean, granted, I think anybody that he wants to play with now is going to be coming to Cleveland.
Yeah, I think this title kind of elevated that team from LeBron, you go ahead and go there if you want, but nobody else is coming, to now people might say, okay, well, they won a title. They actually are a contender now, even though it's Cleveland. I will think about going there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I understand that for sure. Now, what about Dirk Nowitzki? What do you guys think about him?
He's Dallas for life.
Yeah, I think he'll be stuck. Well, not stuck there, but I do think he's just one of those guys that's going to stay true to what brought him into the NBA and really gave him his fame. Yeah,
I agree. I think, Kobe had his little go-away party. I think the next person in line would be Dirk. He just did an absolute lot for that organization. I think Cuban will want him to stay. I think Dirk really wants to stay.
Cuban will pay him too.
Yeah, Cuban has a lot of money. He won't mind, giving it to a guy that did that much for the organization like Dirk did. So I do think he will stay with Dallas. But yeah, me and you, Ty, we kind of last week we got into a little text thing about what if he were to go to Golden State. I felt as if it would have been a good. He would have played pretty well there, but you kind of felt otherwise.
Yeah,
what was your?
Yeah, the one thing Golden State loves to do is shoot the three, and I think if this series with Cleveland, and I would even argue a little bit Oklahoma City, proved anything, it's that they need a little more physicality, and I think. You kind of called me out a little on it, saying, well, are you saying Dirk isn't tough?
Yeah.
And, I think my counter to that is the idea that I'm not saying that Dirk isn't tough. I'm just saying I think they need a guy that kind of prides himself in being tough. Hockey has its enforcers.
Yeah.
You have guys that go out there just to, bang and hit people and push them around. And I feel like they kind of need something like that. And now, granted, I'm not saying they go out and just get a guy that can't play and he'll just go on the floor and just, push people around. Yeah. But, I think one thing
Dirk... Matt Barnes, free agent too, man. So.
Yeah, they can get him. But, one thing I think Dirk really likes to do is shoot the three ball. And I almost think if he goes to Golden State, and almost anybody that goes to Golden State now, there's going to be pressure to shoot the ball.
Yeah.
And I don't think they need another shooter. They have plenty of shooters. I think they need somebody that's going to be willing to either sit around the block and rebound and play out of the post, or someone, if they want to continue with the small ball theory, is they need to get somebody that's going to be able to really run the floor with them. Now, with Dirk, you're not going to sign Dirk to throw him on the bench. You're going to sign him, he's going to start. So what are you going to do? Are you going to put Bogut out of the lineup? Because I don't see them starting 2 7-footers. Yeah. I think that would take them completely out of the game plan that they've worked the last couple of years with and had a lot of success with. I don't see them changing just because they want to sign Dirk.
Yeah. Now, my whole thing is, I agree with you on the stuff. I just believe with Dirk, top 10 greatest power forward of all time. When you said the tough part, I was kind of like, okay, so you're saying Dirk's a wimp, but I knew what you were saying. Dirk, he's a guy, even though he is a tall player, I believe he could have helped them. Well, he still could. I'm not, it's not set in stone yet, but I believe he could stretch the floor for them at least. So if they need threes, dude's one of the greatest big men to pop the three in the history of the NBA. And another thing that I was looking at too, he also has one of the greatest signature moves ever. That one step fadeaway jump shot of his is just untouchable. And, I looked at a guy, if he was playing against Cleveland, if he was on his team already and he had a guy like Kevin Love playing him, who's known to be known to not be that great of a defensive player. If he wanted to, he could take him out to the three, but he can also hit that fadeaway jump shot on him, that one-legger. So definitely agree with what you were saying, but, I just see an opportunity like Dirk. He could stretch the floor with him. If they need threes, which, they already got guys like Steph and Clay that could pop them. Draymond, he could showed he can hit the three too. But Dirk, he's a guy that's going to stretch the floor if they need him to pop the three, or if he wants to, he can back a guy, post him down, and knock it down too. So I just saw an opportunity, like if he was to play against Kevin Love, it'd just be time for him to just go beast mode on him, because Stu can still play, and a good thing about it too is they won't have to. He would be a veteran leader for the team. He doesn't need to go out there, score the most points or anything like that. He'll just be, hey, Dirk, we need a quick, easy bucket. Give him the ball, he can score. They wouldn't need him to go 30 points or anything like that crazy. Just whenever they need a bucket, they could just call his number. So that was just kind of my logic behind it, on why I thought he would be a good fit for him. So.
I actually kind of lean to the Trey side on this one. I think picking up Dirk would be nasty for Golden State. I mean, like I'm racking my brain with it while you two are talking. Like I'm just looking at a starting lineup of Steph and Clay, Draymond shift down to the three, put Dirk in at the four, and I would still start Bogut at the five. And I mean, just thinking of how you stretch that out, and then when they go small ball, where you shift Dirk to the five, Draymond to the four, and so you're pulling out a center that might have to go to that elbow where Dirk kills people from, and you open up the lane for driving lanes, and everybody on the court can shoot. I just feel like that could be just brutal for any team that has to try to figure out how to guard them.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's just like Golden State is gonna make their play for Kevin Durant. I don't think they'll get him, but what a nice consolation prize if you get Dirk Nowitzki for a year or two.
Yeah, like I said, just a legend, man. Wouldn't need him to go out there and, hey, Dirk, I need you to get 40 tonight. Don't need you to do that. You just go out there, man. Hey, Dirk, we're not really getting the threes down, man. Go up in there, back down Kevin Love or whoever. Hit that one step on him, get some easy buckets going so we can get a rhythm going. And,
but just like those matchup, like imagine the finals, like if they would have had to like put Timofey Mozgov in to cover him because he's 7 feet tall.
Yeah.
But Dirk gets to pull him out to the 3-point line and basically negate, or Tristan Thompson, and negate what they're good at. And as far as clogging the paint up, I just think that would be just ridiculous to try to have to deal with on that team.
Yeah. But, we'll just have to see, man, for sure. But yeah.
And on top of that, Dirk can beat people off the dribble too. So if he's pulling out a bigger defender on the 3-point line, he can get to the hoop in 3 dribbles and lower his shoulder and beat someone on the edge.
Yeah.
He's proven he can do that.
For sure. So I gotta write this down, man. Me and Darnell
we agreed on something.
Yeah, Darnell.
For the first
Darnell,
time in the
talking about
history.
Kobe. Then he's agreeing with me tonight, man. I don't know if that'll ever happen again, man. I just
keep this show on recording.
For sure. Now, what about we just found out today that Powell was opting out. So, what do you guys see could possibly go on with him?
I think he's kind of up in the air. He can go really just about anywhere because any team really could use him. I think it'll be one of those situations where he may end up where somebody doesn't re-sign. So that could look like if Dirk doesn't go back to Dallas would make a play for Powell. Similar type player. So I see it being one of those situations. So when more people start to sign, I think he'll be one of the later signees. I don't think he'll sign early. When teams kind of see, hey, here's what we're losing, let's try and go get Powell. So I think it'll just be time before we kind of see where he's gonna go or where he'd even be a fit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could see him. I could see LA reaching back out to him. I just get that leadership back with some of the young bigs that they got coming up now. And then, have we heard anything about Tim Duncan yet?
No,
I haven't. No.
'Cause, I mean, I think that would be a
That's
nice
true.
stopgap if he were to call it a day to power in that spot.
Yeah, true.
So, I mean, those are two good landing spots I could envision for Powell.
Yeah, there was like I said when I was talking earlier, there was a rumor about him, how he would fit with the Spurs. So that would just be interesting, just had to see how much Tim believes he has left in the tank, so, and what he can offer. So that would be interesting to see for that team for sure. Now I think this is the trickiest one out of them all. Dwight Howard. Yeah, what do you guys see happening with him?
Does any team want him right now?
Oh man,
is he even a max player anymore?
Yeah, I don't think
he's still a top 3 center. So yes, you could say you'll take DeAndre Jordan over him. You'll take DeMarcus Cousins over him, but can you honestly say for sure you take Whiteside over him yet? Because he's not all there in the head either.
Look, I like Whiteside, man. I think Whiteside's problem is, here's a guy that's been looked over so much. He just has this big ass chip just on his shoulder. So I think in his head, he may have his problems and stuff, but I just think that's just with him being just looked over so much. And, with him going out there, all these teams looked over. So I just think, every night he gets out on that court, it's like, okay, I got something I got to prove, I'm just going to go out here and just try to destroy anything that comes in my way. So I just think that's just mostly just him just having a chip on his shoulder.
I can see that.
That's what
There's
I just think.
Of that, yeah. But I mean, it's still just some of that. Like he's not a Cousins type talent where you deal with some of the crazy.
Yeah.
He has to learn how to control it. I mean, he's a future defensive player of the year if he just learns how to play within himself.
Yeah.
So he has that going for him. But I mean, yeah, as of right now, Dwight basically, just because he's a last of a dying breed as far as a big time center, he probably still can demand a at or near max contract.
Yeah.
As far as throwing teams out there,
just real quick, what do you think about Drummond? And you think he's not on Dwight's level? You think he still needs some work to do, or would you put him over Dwight or what?
He's close.
Okay. All right, now go ahead. Just wonder.
As far as a team, I think probably if he's going to a big market, it's probably going to be New York.
Yeah, I was going to bring it up because with that picture I sent you guys, but yeah, I think New York, that'll be a spot for him.
They're not going to be in the Durant sweepstakes, but you might be able to make some noise with Howard, Melo, and Rose together.
And Porzingis.
And Porzingis. That's kind of that's a decent little setup for the East.
Yeah.
And it won't have to put too much pressure on Howard. I don't think you'll have to depend on him to be in a leadership role or anything like that. He can just be himself, and hopefully you get his 15 points and 10, 12 boards and good with it. And I think for that setup with a different system, they're not worrying about running the triangle now. They have a decent coach in Jeff Hornacek. I think that could be a good fit for him.
I have to go with the Knicks. I just think, it's a big marketplace. Going to be a lot of talk about him, if they do bad, but I just think that'll just be a good fit for him.
Yeah, especially with them, kind of chancing, if you will, on D Rose to try and resurge his career. Maybe they try to do that with a couple of guys.
Yeah.
I mean, they show that they're interested in a player like that, like a Dwight Howard in terms of where they're at in their career. So I definitely think that they might take the chance on him.
Now, up next, we have Al Horford.
That's a tough one.
I think a lot of these are kind of tough because it's like they're on the verge of being that great player, but they're almost like not there yet where teams are going to be like fighting left and right to get him. So with Al Horford, I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up back in Atlanta. I've heard one person say they'd like him out in LA, but I just don't see it. I mean, I think just back in Atlanta makes sense. I also think Atlanta's going to try and make a play for a point guard with losing Teague. So, another name I might throw in that sweepstakes in a minute, but I think back in Atlanta would just be another good fit. He's done well there, and he's doing well there as kind of their big guy. So, I think back in Atlanta's just as good of a fit as anywhere else for him.
Yeah, I think Atlanta's a good fit. Maybe like a Miami if they don't re-sign Whiteside and the worst happens as far as Chris Bosh goes.
Yeah, true. Yeah, that's something to consider as well. Because we need to see how his health will be heading into the season. So, all right, Joakim Noah.
I could actually see Joakim Noah going to New York as well. Depending who they want to make a play for, that's their call. But I think Joakim Noah just once again kind of needs a restart in his career. Kind of fell out in Chicago. Wouldn't be surprised if he kind of meets up with D Rose again and decides to give it a go there in New York. I think he has enough to offer still. So I don't think teams are thinking he doesn't have the talent. I could see him going there. If they lose Powell, Chicago looks like they're going to be losing Powell. I think it'll be interesting to see what Chicago offers him, if anything. I know a while ago, Chicago was saying that they're not going to plan on re-signing him, so that's just interesting in itself. But especially now that it looks like they'll be losing their two big guys. But, I could see him going just about anywhere. Wouldn't be surprised if it's not Chicago, though.
Yeah, I like both of those. Two other ones, I think. I have to think Cleveland's going to try to do something to move Love out of there.
Yeah.
I think Joe.
All that trash talk he's been saying about Cleveland, man, you think, wow, okay.
All of that goes out of the window when he can get
K-Love,
a good defender that can pass the rock. There's more movement of the ball. I think he will work. And for what he does, I think he's dependable in the finals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also, I think there's an outside shot once all things fail. I think Golden State would be a good landing spot for him, too.
Oh,
yeah, kind of give him some of that toughness. Yeah.
That's a nice one, too.
Yeah, he's definitely not afraid to back down.
Yeah. Now, Hassan Whiteside, we talked about him for a little bit. Where you guys see him going? I'm thinking LA.
Is best.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of reports say LA is going to make a strong move for him, which I think could be a pretty good fit since they're young and emerging. I could also see him staying in Miami. I would like to see Miami keep him because I think the East is really starting to become strong again. Especially kind of on those mid-level teams, the 4, 5, and 6 seeds is coming out of the East. So I'd like to see the East try to keep him, and I like Miami when they have him as a team, so I would actually like to see Miami hold on to him.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a good fit, I think. Yeah, like I said, LA is going to make the push for him. I just think from his statements that he's made, like he said, he wants to end this free agency pretty early, get it done, and loyalty to Miami is not a factor. So I kind of think he's looking for who's going to give him a max or close to a max deal, and that's probably where it's going. I don't think there's like any championship motive in place. He wants to go where he can get his, and with him, so that just makes it a total wild card. I don't even know. Like, I can't base it on fit or what he can do to help a team. I just think he's going to go where he gets paid.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm rooting for LA. I'm a huge. I really like Whiteside. Ultimate underdog guy that was extremely overlooked. Finally got a chance to show himself. Think he could have been what Dwight Howard should have been for LA. So I just hope that he can come there and bring a lot to the game, man. I'm so disappointed in Roy Hibbert, man. I don't know. I don't even know what to say about that. But just we get rid of him and bring in Whiteside, please.
Get rid of him. Want to tell us how you really feel about it?
Yeah, man. So hopefully, Whiteside will be a guy I would just love to see in an LA uniform. So they said they were pushing for him. So hopefully they pick him up. I like the guy. So.
And while we're on a current Heat player, let me just throw out, since my phone buzzed about 45 minutes ago, it looks like D Wade and the Heat haven't come to common ground, so he's about to start taking outside offers.
Okay, what do you guys think about that then? You think he could go to maybe go to Cleveland? LeBron went to his place. Why not go to LeBron? So you think that's an option or what?
I mean, they could use a better two guard.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not out of the question.
Yeah, I was gonna say I wouldn't put it out of the question either. I mean, when it comes to friends, you can't really say what's gonna happen next. So, I mean, I think everybody kind of saw the move to Miami with LeBron happening. I don't think people would say they'd be as quick to see Dwayne Wade coming to Cleveland happen as fast.
Yeah, I mean, this is interesting to me. Like, I wonder if this is more of a chess game than anything else, because I think Wade knows what it means if Miami lets him go. Just kind of how LeBron now has cemented himself as the king of Cleveland and will never be looked at bad again. D Wade has that status in Miami. Even when LeBron was there, was probably the better player. It's always been Wade Stadium, Wade City. He brought them their first title.
Yeah.
So I think that's one that could be like riots in the streets if they don't bring a good enough offer to bring D Wade back. That's one of those guys, kind of like how Trey, how you're saying if Dirk goes back to Dallas for a year or two, he's going to get that retirement ride.
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Wade seems like that same exact player.
Yeah. So I wonder how much of this is posturing or how much is it that he might actually go somewhere else. But I mean, there's lots of places where he could be a good fit, give teams a huge boost. I mean, last year he quietly was back up to rare form.
Did a good
especially
job.
during the playoffs. He was ridiculous. Yeah. So I mean, if he can keep that kind of health up, especially if he can go somewhere where he's not dependent on to be the man, it could be trouble.
Yeah.
Now, any other thoughts on Wade, guys? You got something else to add, Todd?
No, you guys pretty much hit it all.
All right. Last but not least, Kevin Durant. You think that trade sealed the deal for him to actually re-sign with him, or what?
I think so. I think he knows what he's going to get now. They have their roster minus Durant right now, and he knows all he has to do is sign on the dotted line, and they're number 2 in the West. That's all he has to do right now, and I think he knows it. I think he just wants to see what other contenders will offer him, only because I think it's hard. It's hard to see him going somewhere else because of that move. Like, I think it's more than obvious Golden State made that move, or Oklahoma City made that move for Kevin Durant. I don't think there's any question to that. So, do they make the pitch, hey, look what we just got? Or are they going to make the pitch, with you, look at what we have?
Yeah.
They'll be smart to make it look at what we have with you, because ultimately, I still think a lot of people would say it's his team despite what Westbrook's been doing. I think a lot of people would still agree that it's Kevin Durant's team. I know that's how I view it. I just think if he were to leave Oklahoma City minus an offer from Golden State, he's leaving the best thing he's got.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's still gonna honestly take these visits and really think about it. Like, I'm pretty much like 55% he stays, 45 he goes. Like, I don't think it's a done deal at all that he's staying in Oklahoma City, because I do think it's kind of gotten to him that he's come close a couple times, just hasn't been able to seal that deal. Yeah. So I definitely think he's probably looking what is going to get me to where I can win a championship. Mm-hmm. And if Golden State or San Antonio make him a good enough offer where he's like, I don't know, me with one of these rosters, I think is guaranteed. More so Golden State. I think he's a better fit there.
Yeah, some reason I just kind of got like, if he doesn't re-sign with them, I just kind of got like a gut feeling, he's going to go to Golden State. That's just my gut. But with that trade, that helped a lot too. But
yeah, I definitely think Oklahoma City did well for themselves by making the trade. It improved their roster in areas where they needed it, and they gave up a player where they have two bigs that can make up for what they're trading and will probably be better in the future. So I think it's that two-horse race.
Mm-hmm.
Now, guys, any other thoughts?
Uh-huh.
All right, people tuned in. Thanks for listening. Make sure you like us, subscribe, check us out on iTunes, Stitcher, Tunein, Google Play, all of that. So just be on the lookout for us.
Yep, and email the show, dkmcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter, DKM_cast. Follow myself and Tyler, T_coin. That's it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
and then myself, S_do228, S_DOO. And we'll keep working on Trey.
All right. Yeah, we'll see, man.
He's a little behind the times.
Yeah.
Yeah, he still gets us the show on pen and paper.
Yeah. I'm old school, man.